Luke Anderson here on behalf of Step Potential. Thank you for tuning in to the Prometheus Podcast, where we bring the fire back to the people.
Well, hey guys, this is first episode of the Prometheus Podcast, and today we're going to be talking about mindsets, setbacks, challenges, time after school as well. Just, I guess, for a bit of a background for anyone listening, why did we come up with the Prometheus Podcast, the name?
I'll take the floor. So the Prometheus Podcast, why did we come up with the name? Prometheus is actually a Greek titan, a bit of a Greek mythology for all of us. Prometheus, he, to lack of a better term, he wasn't a fan of what the gods were doing, and especially how the people felt. So the experience of Prometheus was he stole the fire from the gods and he gave it back to the people. I think we can all relate to I guess that story a bit in terms of what we want to achieve out of life. So if I was to open up the floor a bit, stealing fire from the gods and giving it back to the people, what are your thoughts on that phrase?
I think not so much stealing. So I think the way I kind of comprehend it is we've got people in this world that are severely more wealthy than everyone else. The way they become wealthy through their successes, through their actions, their behaviours, their habits that they do day to day. I think that we can, as a group, we can research those people. Also, try to become those people. But in terms of bringing their ideas, their habits, their mindsets, and bringing it to the people that don't have that. So the people that we see, day in, day out, they don't have the motivation to get up in the morning. They don't have the motivation to better themselves. It's more so of taking the fire or taking the ideas from those with that success, with that experience that have walked through life, without that struggle, or that are living without struggle now, and taking those concepts that they're following and bringing them back to the people that don't have that motivation, don't have the drive or the willingness to achieve something better than what they're achieving at the moment. So I think that's the way that I see it. You guys could be different. What are your ideas?
I'd agree with that. I think it's not so much. It's like the metaphor, I guess, of the mythology is more so this power, like the knowledge, right? Mm-hmm. It's like how can we access that and bring it down and make it more accessible to more people? And that's kind of what inspired us being here today. Mm-hmm. It's okay, individually we've come to realize certain things. We stumbled upon certain nuggets of like truth or certain things that have helped us progress and helped us get to that next level in our personal lives, right? And it's about, I guess, bringing that knowledge, that wisdom, because a lot of things can't be learned without painful failures.
Oh, definitely.
Or just hardship in general. But not everybody has to go through that process, right? Not everybody has to suffer in the same way that I or you or people who have suffered way worse than any of us, right? It doesn't have to go to that level, but the knowledge or the wisdom or like the ideas that process generates, there's no reason why you can't just bring that down and like share it and spread it. And then through that process, you can align other people and save them the trouble.
Yeah.
But the truth and the place where that idea or thought came from, it's genuine, and it does have power to impact someone and help them in a way that they might not even know, like if they need guidance.
Cool. My interpretation is literally the same as yours. It's like, it's not so stealing, but it's more so I've kind of figured things out in a sense, and I want to pass the knowledge on to others to help them. It's about, in my opinion, it's about helping others achieve, not really achieve, but like to empower others to kind of like greater themselves, to be a little bit better, to find that fulfillment in life. So it's I wouldn't say it's necessarily stealing. I'd say it's more so like empowering, sharing, knowledge.
So, welcome to the Prometheus Podcast, where we're bringing fire back to the people.
Want to start us off, Luke?
I will. So for all of us, I guess we're all a bit welcoming each other to the first episode of the Prometheus Podcast.
Yep.
So I think during today, as we discussed, we'll probably a bit of introduction to the audience with who we are, what we're doing as well. Does anyone want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'll kick us off, I guess. Well, my name's Jackson.
Good to meet you, mate.
And at the moment, for work, I work full time at a construction company, doing mostly telecommunication work. Work the usual kind of 40 hours a week. Try and fit in as much as I can of my personal life and whatnot. But it's pretty cruisy. Not too difficult, but the time constraints are usually what I'm really focusing on and trying to get around.
How about yourself?
Yeah. So just uni student. Guess after high school I took a bit of time off. I did some traveling. Worked overseas. Taught in a school in China for a bit. Then after that, came back. Started studying. So doing an arts degree right now. Learning Chinese language. It's pretty hard. But and it's like amongst like my normal uni workload and working part-time also at university, and obviously being here with you boys, trying to start something here, it's a pretty big commitment. Like you do feel pretty flat, but what I felt is like last semester compared to now, I had so much more free time, like easily like more than double the amount of free time than what I have now. But being busier has allowed me to get more done, because like there's no excuses anymore. It's like, all right, I have X, Y, Z to do, and before I just had X. So then I had all this time, and it was up to me to choose like, okay, I need to like allow this time to start doing my work, and it was on me. But when you fill up your schedule to the point where it's bursting, it's like, well, you don't get to choose anymore. It's whatever bit you can get, you have to start doing the work. So I found that like an interesting insight in terms of just realizing that the busier you are, the more you get done and the less you procrastinate, in my opinion at least.
Yeah, definitely. And I will touch on to that a bit later on. Hendry?
Name's Hendry. I work full-time in insurance, manager at the company. I also have a couple other businesses that I run, whether it's clothing, whether it's Amazon, eBay, a couple other things to keep going. Definitely trying to start this thing up with you boys. That's just a quick short intro about myself. How about you?
Luke Anderson. So similar to Jackson's background, telecommunications industry. So I'm a manager in it, and I've been doing it for a couple of years now. So similar stories to you all about work-life balance, and also trying to start up a business. So recently got a house. So we're all here, so it's good. And me and Jackson obviously went 50-50 in it. So what I've actually noticed in terms of work-life schedule and I guess starting up a business as well, running a household is pretty much a business in itself. Yeah. So a lot of time is dedicated. I guess when you're younger, and we all are still young, no doubt, but I guess when you're 17, 18 and all that, and you're coming up and you don't have too much, I guess, investment, similar to what you were talking about, Ali, when in terms of, well, maybe back in the day you had more time and now your schedule's kind of set in stone, where you have some commitments you have to, I guess, abide by. Adding a house to look after onto that, it I guess makes that schedule, like you said, expand a bit more. So just your standard stuff as well actually adds a lot more than what you would think when you were a bit younger. I think something that I definitely have taken from it is I don't think you realise how much your parents actually do for you in terms of just holding the roof above your head. It's a mission in itself.
100%. I think since it's since buying the house, it's definitely been a bit of an eye opener as well. Like especially the things that as you said, other people are doing for you. If it's including your parents, your friends, whatever it is. But there are some things that, unless you've experienced doing that, you really don't know how much effort it takes to follow through with looking after someone, or even just simply cleaning a house, like keeping it clean. It takes a massive amount of time and a massive amount of commitment to buy into that, and to really promise to anyone else in the house that's what you're doing. You're teaming up making a commitment to keep it clean, and then on top of the work life, and then starting up a business, as we're all talking about, it's a massive commitment. All aspects of it are massive commitments, and I'm actually really looking forward to the processes and the challenges that come along with it. So
cool. Definitely, growing up is a really big eye opener, as it's definitely is what I found. Even like just finishing school, like the jump from being like in school 9 to 3 every single day to after school, it's kind of like that break time of you figuring everything out. It's a really big challenge, I guess. Like you go from seeing everyone every single day to not seeing everyone every single day. It's just you in your house alone, kind of deep in your thoughts. Definitely ask you guys how you guys felt after school then, right? So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so after school, and I was probably a bit different to most, but I had a bit of a set structure or a set plan that I was pretty committed to following, and it was probably back from year 7. So me and Jackson actually sat down, had a bit of a plan mapped out, because of course I started my family business with my brothers at the start of high school, around the year 7 time. So I was in the telecommunications industry, and I guess I saw a bit of a pathway there to at least open an avenue. It wasn't the end goal, of course, but from year 7, there was a bit of all right, well, if I was to finish school, I want to land in this industry and I want to be doing this specific role to then move up to the next role and then get into management. So when I finished school, I had, I guess, my eyes set on the process of actually building where I wanted my life to head. So I kind of hit the ground running in the sense of, well, in year 7, I had been doing it. I'd been doing it from on and off, school holidays, weekends. I was working as much as I could in, I guess, like I said, the industry of where I was seeing my life actually head. One thing, and you did touch on it, when you are alone in your house and alone to your thoughts. So a big one that I noticed when school finished was, of course, I guess the friendship groups disband a bit. I noticed, since I was focused on a goal and I had a clear goal, that there was, hatred's not the right word, but I guess a resentment and I guess annoyance from, I guess, friendship groups or people I used to know in school about, oh, you don't have any time for us, why aren't you hanging out, and A, B, and C. And it really, I guess, you reflect a lot. And I was thinking it was due to the, I guess, not a clear direction from everyone else. And you just know how important it is being, I guess, having the inner circle in your friendship groups, because at the end of the day, you are the 5 people that you hang around. And it's interesting, this team that we have going on, because we all actually went to high school together in year 7 and we went to our different paths.
Yeah.
So I know when I finished high school, I had a group of friends, but we weren't really on that same path. Like, yeah, we'd hang around each other every single day, we'd hang out after school, but once it's that open season and school finishes and you're out in the big bad world, you got to really, I guess, pick your friends closely on the path that you're actually walking.
Yeah, I can definitely relate with that as well, because from the time that I finished school, I had my core group of friends, and basically as soon as school finished and everyone started getting employment or going to university or taking up all the different pathways, not everyone's schedules matched up with everyone's. So, some people work night shifts, some people work, full-time, 8 hours a day, some people work casual, shift work. And, all of the requests on trying to keep friendships together and, always catching up, always staying in touch, always going out with each other, it's a lot harder than it sounds, because everyone, as I said, everyone's schedules don't match up. So, I've basically, had to stand aside from some people because, they can't get the grasp of, our schedules don't meet up. So I can't come out on a weeknight because I've got to work in the morning. But, the people that can't, accept the fact, and they can't acknowledge that or respect that you have commitments that are greater than just going out on a weeknight or going to the movies or going to get some food. Those people, it's, as you said, you are those 5 people that you hang around. And if those people are the ones that are putting you down for, chasing those ambitions or keeping to your priorities, then that's kind of a change that you need to make. Otherwise, if you're trying to please everyone and you're going out of your way and jeopardizing your priorities and your deadlines, it's really a downfall just waiting to happen. It's just basically a catastrophe waiting to happen.
It's like one of those things I actually noticed leaving high school is that sometimes the only thing you have in common with your friends is the school you went to.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly, yeah.
And the moment that institution isn't the reason why you come together, then like easily 90% of the people who, while you're at school, you think, well, of course we're going to meet up, of course we're going to hang out. The moment when that physical environment isn't there to keep you together and it becomes on you, then you think back on a lot of your friends and you say, well, maybe I don't want to hang out with you anymore. Because like, it's not like, obviously you have your close friends and to them you do make the effort, but you underestimate just how small that close group of friends is. Because the moment that physical environment's gone, it's like, well, your time is something more valuable because you're not forced to be in a place, you have to agree to come to a place. And when you're taking that time out of your schedule now, because before school was the schedule, so it didn't matter, you're there anyway. See you tomorrow, see you the day after. But when it is on your time and on your schedule, suddenly those people who you do decide to cut time out for become that much more important, and it is like a careful decision that you need to make.
And on the other end of the stick for that as well is the people that are cutting the time for us as well. So like not just the people you're making time for, but the people that are making time for you as well. So it's basically a bit of a double-edged sword there. But I definitely agree with what you're saying in terms of that physical environment. Once that's gone, you really do find out who is actually willing to support you through your life and who isn't.
Yeah.
I guess from there, right? It's like you realize that smaller group is that better group. You don't need a large group of friends because then you'll have more people influencing you. If you can keep that group of friends smaller, there's less people influencing you. But if you guys have all the same mindset, like the amount of energy you guys can grab is ridiculous, and that's what brought us all together here right now. Like the people you really surround yourself really does impact your day-to-day life. Like for example, it is going back to like finishing high school. Definitely stopped surrounding myself with everyone. Got really deep in my thoughts, but I was somehow really, really motivated to kind of like do things on my own. It got to like the first couple of weeks of finishing school, I was like, oh shit, like it's like that realization, like the friendship group got smaller. But it's like after I got over that, it's that motivation to like, all right, well, I'm gonna prove something for myself. Then you're not relying on anyone else to kind of help you or anything. This is all on you, and it kind of brings people it brings people towards you. Do you get what I mean? Like that kind of energy brings people towards you, and like whether it's good or bad, like when you start doing something like that's like really good in other people's eyes, it actually creates this like energy that like people's like, oh shit, well I gotta hit up this guy. He seems like he's doing something crazy, and then it kind of gains traction from there. If you know what I mean, like whether it's good or bad, you kind of figure people out more from that situation. I don't know if you guys kind of understand it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying because obviously, by going out by yourself, having that, basically creating your own energy or having your own motivation to not rely on someone, and you're saying that energy draws in other people. Well, that's a prime example is the four of us. We were practically on different pathways, hadn't seen each other in years, some of us, and then out of nowhere, that motivation, that drive to do something for a greater cause has just brought us together, and now we're starting up this program, this business. So I 100% agree with that. Yeah,
definitely. I think, and you did touch on it, a bit of background or an overview, as what you said. So we all did go to school, year 7.
Yeah, way back.
Some of us back in the day. So year 7, all well and good. I think year 8, you two were out of the picture.
Yeah.
So from that point on, like what you said, you had found your own different pathways. Me and Hendry stuck it out to year 12.
That's it.
But and then for exactly how you put it, Jackson. Some of us hadn't seen each other for years, in years on end. And I've actually always found that. Probably only got one or two other, I guess, close friends. And sometimes I don't see him in a year, or we don't talk in 6 months. And sometimes you bump into him at Nando's while you're waiting in the queue, and that's your catch-up time. And but it's never...
I was going to say, but on that, you could almost guarantee that because you haven't seen them in a year or 6 months, they're not going to sit there and complain to you.
Exactly.
And
right.
There's not going to be an issue with not seeing them, because when you get to that reunion, it's not, why haven't you seen me in this long, or why haven't you reached out to me? It's like, wow, what have you been doing with your life? It's a much different perspective and a different approach.
And that conversation with me and Ali, when we bumped into each other, it was exactly that. There was no, why haven't you got in contact with me? It was, well, what are you actually up to? What are you doing with your life? Oh, I'm actually, funny that, in public speaking courses. I've travelled, I've done this. I feel like I've really reached a higher level in my life, and I'd love to share ideas with you. And we'll just happen to be, I came from a bit of a speaking gig as well, and it happened, that conversation, I guess, evolved, and like exactly how you were saying, Jackson, it was no, why haven't you spent time, I guess, or invested time into seeing me? It was, I've invested this time into myself, and I'm doing these things, how about yourself? And it was that exact same conversation, and although we hadn't seen each other for months or years, we were still, I guess, walking in that exact same pathway of, well, we just want to better ourselves. We want to, I guess, make an influence out there and do something, I guess, on a greater scale, but we're still focused on, well, I truly think, like, succeeding in life 100% has a lot to do with how you, I guess, carry yourself, and it's more the internal part to it all.
Yeah.
And that's where, I think our conversation, I guess, was leading to other avenues.
Yeah, I think there does come a time. I feel like people don't invest in themselves enough, and they invest in other people too much. And that's not a thing about being selfish, not at all. But people will voluntarily give up opportunities to make themselves better and stronger and again, it sounds weird saying for the sake of their friends, but it's not that at all. It's, if you make yourself better, if you make yourself more confident, if you work on your mental health, your fitness, your health, anything, right? If that does mean maybe you can't go out for drinks for the 3rd time this week, that's fine, right? You need time to invest in yourself and make yourself better. And when you yourself become better, that energy amongst your friend circle can also be lifted up. And if you're acting as an inspiration to someone else, a friend of yours, and they can see what you're doing in your life, and they can be like, hey, this guy's actually doing something great, and they might start to invest a bit more energy, try to cultivate themselves a bit more, and that flows on, right? So if you're always just in your friends' world and never in your own, if you're always living each other's lives and never living your own, then that's just stagnation, right? There's no growth that can occur, because growth doesn't come from each, yes, it's important to have those connections, but personal growth doesn't occur that way. Personal growth occurs when you challenge yourself and go outside what's known, but your friends are known. Your friends are a part of that comfortable circle. So sometimes you do need to retreat, go into your own world, seek your own challenges, better yourself, and then come back. And that's kind of what happened with all 4 of us here, is that we kind of split off completely. Some of us, again, haven't seen each other for many years, but we all just happened to be on that same path where we were developing ourselves, cultivating ourselves, making ourselves better in every way that we could. And then that's why coming back after all that time, immediately the energy is still there, the friendship is still there, because we can see that, hey, you're on the same path as me. You're also trying to make yourself better, and I can respect that. And that's why we can connect again on such a deep level.
Mm-hmm. Nothing was different at all. When we all caught up that one time, and then it's for the first time in ages. I haven't seen Luke in years. It's been ages since I saw you two as well. It's been years as well. We were oh, hey, how's it going? But then afterwards, when we started talking, it didn't feel like anything was different. Sure, we've changed completely as individuals. We've all gone out on our different paths and all that. But it just felt like we were been friends forever. You know what I mean? It just that. Just we just kept talking and talking, and it's there was no awkward gap.
Definitely, it was just consistent, and similar to what we were saying, on the same path. The stars aligned a bit, and for some reason,
Yeah.
you can be
Luck
yeah,
comes
you-
into factor as well.
Yeah, bit of a cheeky Nando's me up, but that's it. We're on so many different paths, but one thing is consistent that all of us have done, and I know you've been traveling a lot, and you've traveled as well. Some of us are full-time work, some of us are studying at the moment, but one thing that is consistent is that we're committed to ourselves for personal development and growth. And we weren't doing those for any selfish reasons. So you add a couple of years into the mix, of course we're, I guess, on the same path. It hasn't changed. We're still looking at wanting to develop ourselves.
Yeah, and I think that growth that we've gotten amongst all of ourselves, and we've individually grown as people, I think a massive thing that contributes to that is the mindset we take into our everyday lives, you know, and you know, the way that we positively go about it. You know, we're not pessimistic. We don't think about things in a negative way. It's, you know, we see a hurdle, a struggle, a challenge, and instead of, you know, cowering away from that or you know, backing down, it's take it head on. And I think that, you know, from what I've heard of all of us talking, you know, since we've really met up, is, you know, we're all headstrong. We're all taking on those challenges. We're not you know, kind of seeing something and maybe steering away from it because we don't like it. We're really taking on that challenge. And I just wanted to get a gauge of, like, you guys, like the types of challenges that you guys have been facing or have faced in that time where, you know, we weren't kind of, you know, all meeting up regularly. We had those years apart. So I'm really keen to get a gauge on that.
Yeah, I think that time straight after high school is a really interesting time because you're just kind of trying to figure out everything at one time. It's like you're trying to figure out who you are as a person, but also what you want out of your life.
Yeah.
And those are like huge questions, right? It's a huge undertaking. It's not something you can just do in a few years, but there's kind of pressure for you to start making steps, right? It's like, it doesn't matter that you don't know what you want to do. Society or like the pressure of your parents, like everybody, it's like, well, do something. You're wasting time. Go quick, get along. And it's like, well, then you just have to pick a journey. You have to pick a pathway, and you're like, all right, I'll do law at university. Okay, I'll do that, sure. And then you just do that, and like you don't think about it, right? And it was like you don't have that time to think, and that's why I think I was lucky to have a bit of that time because I didn't start university straight after high school. I went back to Pakistan, where I'm from, and for the first time in over a decade, and I saw family that I didn't even know was there. And I went to China and I went to a country, I didn't speak a word of Chinese at that time, and I taught in a school. And the thing is, so much of who you are is defined by your environment. So like you see your house and you're defining yourself by, I am a person who lives in this house. I am a person who drives this car. I'm a person who has these friends. I'm a person who doesn't like Melbourne weather. And like, it's all like centered around, it's all linked to like your environment. But then the moment you take that environment away and you're in the middle of like rural China and you don't know anything around you, you can't just like safely make those connections anymore. And you're forced to introspect. You can't just project outwards and go, hey, well, this is my bedroom and who am I as a person? I'm the type of person who is in my bedroom because like this just makes sense to me. This is like logically something I would do, and thus this is who I am. But when that's all gone, there's no routine, there's no schedule, there's no familiarity, nothing's comfortable anymore. There's nowhere else left to look but inside. And when you look inside, that's when you start to understand parts of who you are and parts of perhaps what your ambitions or passion or vision could be looking forward. But it's not an experience that, I was fortunate to have that. I know I was one of the few who got to have that, but it is something that young people need, because when you have that chance to look inside yourself, it makes painting a picture of the future so much easier.
100%. Like just speaking of what you were talking about too, like what school has done, you know, like struggles I faced was, you know, mental health. Always suffered for that for my whole life. But it's more so, you know, the motivation, and speaking on what you were saying, like you got to look deep inside what you had. Like you got to look deep inside for you to figure out the answers once you comfort zone. I traveled as well once I was done, similar to you. I went over to Bali, like Thailand and all, like, sometimes people are less fortunate than what we have here. It's a really big eye opener there. Don't speak a word at the same time. So I can literally relate to what you're saying. Like, you're in this place, it's super busy. Like, China's busy as well, right? Yeah. Like, it's super busy. You don't speak a word. Money's completely different to what you're used to. You're in this environment where you're like, what do I do now? Like, but what I say, and I always say this, is without discomfort, there's no growth. And literally, like, I came to a point when I was like overseas. I was just with a couple mates. I was just like, what are we doing, right? Like, what are we doing back home? Like, that is so different to what they are doing here. Like, they didn't have as much money. They're less fortunate than us. We're really fortunate to live in Australia. And I like, it really, like, I looked deep inside and I was like, I take this for granted. Public transport, or if it's cars or something, family, you take it all for granted. So, like, after learning all of that from traveling overseas, when I came back, I found I had this, like, drive to be like, well, I'm going to be super humble of what I have. I'm going to be, I'm going to do whatever I can to live a better life. And I'm just going to, like, be passing that energy around. It's just something about, like, what I want to do. It's like, I always want to help others around me to kind of better their lives as well. But it's like, yeah, it took, like, that point, like, after school where I traveled, and I was like, oh, well, shit, like, I gotta grow to be a better person so I can help, people in these countries. Like, I've gone to countries like these now. I'm a little bit more fortunate in, like, money wise, and like, it's so good to just, like, be able to provide for a community. And that's my fulfillment in life, to just help others out. But I definitely do agree, like, after school, it is that pretty big realization.
Yeah, it's a massive eye opener, I think, and you don't know what. Yeah, I guess you can't expect anything, and sure, you think you will know it all, and similar to what you were saying, Ali, how you think you're going to be friends with the friends that you're with, but until you take that step, I guess, and the shade comes up a bit, I think, yeah, it's a pretty big eye opener for everyone.
In terms of, say, setbacks, struggles, whatnot, I've actually been pretty fortunate, to be honest. In terms of career, work, kind of these opportunities that are kind of setting me up. I've actually been fairly lucky with the people I know, and kind of the positions that they're in. But, in saying that, still, not so much work life, but family life has really been a bit of a struggle for me. I had a lot of family issues a couple of years back, which are still continuing on at the moment. I think for me, it's been, trying to look after family as well as get around to friends, get around to work, get around to all these other things that are, filling my schedule. But, obviously we could all agree on is that family's, the most important, part of life. They're the ones that raise you. They're the ones that support you through your childhood, through your struggles, really. And I think that something that has been a massive part of my life is giving back. So, that they supported me through my struggles. I want to support them through theirs. Whether that takes time out of my career, whether it takes time out of going out to see friends, I find that would be the most important aspect, is looking after the ones that look after you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Prometheus Podcast, where we aim to bring the fire back to the people.